Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly Purple Penny video. My name's Mark. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine. We're a bricks and mortar coin shop in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. We've been here a bit over 4 years and been doing these videos for about 3/4 of that time, trying to do one every week. In these videos we cover off on any coins and banknotes that are in the news, whether it be here in Australia or around the world. And most weeks we try to have a bit of a topic of the week that new collectors and perhaps more experienced collectors might find useful. If you are not in Australia, you might not know today is a public holiday for many of the states in Australia for the King's birthday. So I'm 52 and this is my first King's birthday holiday. So this is the inaugural King's birthday video for the Purple Penny. Of course we've had a Queen's birthday up until now, so it does still not feel quite right in the mouth when you call it the King's birthday. Are we doing anything special for the King's birthday today in the video? No, I wouldn't really know what to do special for the King's birthday in a coin video, because as you'll find out a bit later, the Mint hasn't actually done anything for the King so far here in Australia. So the only thing that we could talk about is the fact that there's nothing to talk about. But we will cover that later. So hello to, we'll just say a few hellos. I'd like to say hello to the people that have joined us live. Hi Patrick, Peter, Brett, Gary, Paul, Powell, Van, Monica, Teresa, Mick, sorry the thing just moved then, Joe, Gwen and another Mike. I've neglected to mention Catherine, who is out there frantically trying to get as much mailing as done for the few hours that we're in today. Of course it is a public holiday, but one of the joys of being a business owner is that you don't get public holidays. So we've just come in for a short time today, not a good time. Now, coins in the news this week. We will just have a quick look at the June RAM releases, because there was a typo in the slide last week. The Mint is releasing 2 groups of coins on the last Thursday in June. They didn't do any in May, they didn't do any at the beginning of June, so we're getting a group of coins commemorating the 30th anniversary of the release of the 1 ounce silver kangaroo coins called the Mob of 30, and we're getting a group of coins for the Women's Soccer/Football World Cup, depending on where you are in the world. There was a typo in the slide for the Women's World Cup coins. Not my typo, it was the Mint's typo. So that first coin there, the 2023 fine silver proof coin, last week we said that was an ounce. It is actually only half an ounce. Just 2023 of those minted, so if you're after one of those, you'd better put your octopus tentacles out and do your best to get hold of one, because they are going to be very scarce on the ground. As I did say last week, the wholesale allocations for all of these are very small. I imagine most of them are being sold directly by the Mint or by FIFA themselves. If you're not sure what a wholesale allocation is, that's the number of coins that the Mint allocates to its wholesale network. We are part of their wholesale network. We're authorised Mint distributors. We don't get, the wholesale network doesn't get access to all the mintage. It is a limited number that we get, and it is split up amongst the dealers proportionally based on how much they spent with the Mint. So it means that dealers like us often don't get nearly as many coins as what you might think we get. Right, what else is going on in the news this week? There's more. You may have watched last week, and I did talk about the fact that the Mint is releasing more and more coins that are not available to the wholesale network, and has been leaked on social media this week that there is going to be another release that is not going out through the wholesale network, another group of coins that are going out through Woolworths. Now there is going to be 3 coloured $2 coins for the FIFA Women's World Cup and 4 $1 coins. They are not going to be in a folder. They are going to be available through change again, which for collectors is a pain in the butt. because it means you're going to have to beg, borrow and steal with the people at Woolworths to try and get your hands on those coins. Woolworths doesn't appear to have a consistent way of distributing them. Some supermarkets seem to give them out in bags, other supermarkets will limit them to 5, other supermarkets seem to have none at all when they open up in the mornings, which suggests perhaps the staff is grabbing hold of those coins. There were some graphics for those coins floating around on social media, which I'm not going to share because I'm not sure if I'm allowed. I believe they'll be available perhaps the end of this month, the beginning of next month. I'm not sure of the exact date, but that's another coin release that's coming out through Woolworths. They're not going to be in a folder. I think that the RAM is really having problems with their packaging at the moment, not being able to supply folders, because this is several releases in a row now that Woolworths hasn't been able to supply the coins in folders. I do sympathise with you out there if you have to try and get your hands on these coins, but here in the shop I'm not that disappointed they're not coming in a folder, because it means we don't have to spend the next 5 years buying them and piling them up in huge piles like we've got all the other Woolworths folders. But it also means we won't have them available for our regulars. They'll have to go and try and get them from Woolworths themselves, because of course the Mint doesn't make these available to their dealer network, which is us. Cute news this week about a dog that has set a world record. Now, why am I talking about a dog that set a world record? Because it's got something to do with coins. So Leo is a Cocker Spaniel from Scotland, and his mum, his human mum, has spent the last 2 years training him to put 20p coins into a money box. And Leo in February this year managed to put 23 20p coins into a money box in 60 seconds, which is pretty remarkable. And it's taken up until just a few weeks ago for his handsomely framed certificate to come through from the Guinness World Records people to say that he has set a record for the most coins ever put into a money box by a dog. Well done, Leo, and well done to his owner who persisted with him. Now, he has a Instagram that you can follow. It's called Trick Spaniel, and there's lots of cool doggo related stuff up there. If you do like dogs, I do suggest you go and have a look, because it was quite good. Well done, Leo, for setting a world record there. Next item is a coin that was found and pushed up on Facebook a few weeks ago now. Carl Harris actually received this, whether he got it in change or got it in a bag of coins, but as you can see there, it is a black Vegemite coin, and you probably noticed that the paint's on the wrong side. Now, this is what's known in error coin collecting circles as a bullseye error. The reason why it was originally called a bullseye error, because it looked like the colour on the queen's face looked like a bullseye over her face. How does this happen? Well, from what we understand, when the coloured $2 coins are painted at the Mint, they are arranged by hand into trays. Yes, that's what I just said. They are arranged by hand into trays, making sure that the tail side or reverse side of the coin is upwards before they're put through the painting process. Given that those human Mint workers are indeed human, every now and again they mess up and they leave one with the head side up or the obverse side up, and the coin gets the paint on the head side of the coin and it slips out into circulation. Now, these bullseye errors have been getting around now for 5 or 6 or 7 years since they were first discovered. About 4 or 5 years ago was really the peak of the market for these, where these were often selling for $6,000 or $7,000. Yes, I just said $6,000 or $7,000. But in the last 5 years, they have pretty much shown up for every $2 release, which tended to bring the price down. And then, unfortunately, last year and the year before, someone who we believe is up in Queensland discovered how to lift the paint off of the reverse side of a normal coloured $2 coin and then reapply it to the head side of the $2 coin. So they were creating fake errors, and then unfortunately a reasonably well-known dealer actually sent a bunch of those fake errors over to PCGS, who then mistakenly authenticated them as real errors. To their credit though, PCGS and the dealer, when they were notified that they were not real errors, they withdrew all the coins as quickly as they could. But because there were reasonably, well, I won't say reasonably, there were on the surface at least reasonably authentic looking fake errors, that has really destroyed the confidence in this market now. And even if this coin itself is genuine, and it does appear to be genuine, the value of it is just a fraction of what it was 5 years ago, because the confidence in all of these errors now has been completely destroyed. And PCGS, whether it be through their own fault or someone else's fault, did authenticate some of them, and as a consequence there are a lot of people who have their doubts, even if they're in PCGS holders, which is a shame. And as Peter is saying there in the comments, it is actually reasonably easy to tell the difference between a real and a fake one of these, and that's because when the paint is applied to the surface of these coins, the profile of the paint itself actually matches the profile of the surface of the coin underneath it. So for example, on one of these Vegemite coins, if you were to apply the paint in those little recessed rectangles there that go in a circle around the middle there, then the paint will adopt that shape. It will have little recessed rectangles and raised lines all the way around the circle of paint. And if you were to lift that paint off and then reapply it to the head side of the coin, those little sunken rectangles and raised lines would still be there. They would still be there. And that's really how you can tell the difference. If the paint isn't conforming to the surface of the coin correctly, or it's showing features that aren't on that side of the coin, then it's almost certainly a fake one. If you have any doubts about these sorts of things, then you are welcome to send the pictures through to us here, or Peter here who is commenting. He is an expert on these things. He can pick these things as well. We sort of got involved in this back when the fakes first appeared. I believe that the person who was creating the fakes contacted us one day via phone message in mid-2022 and had about 20 or 30 of these fake errors, and a very elaborate story about where he bought them and how they'd been obtained, but they were clearly all fakes. You could tell that even from poor mobile phone images. And interestingly, some of the ones that that person attempted to sell us in 2022 did end up being graded by PCGS. Now I should say that PCGS withdrew the certificates for those graded coins almost immediately, which is a credit to them for doing that. And I will just say that there are real ones going around. This one here, I'm pretty confident, is a real one. And it's a shame for those people who have bought real ones in the past. We've had a couple of these real ones brought into us now in the last 6 months, and people have wanted to sell them to us, and we've opted out. We feel like now this market has been ruined, and the amount of, I guess, criticism that we would take, even if we sold one of these that was genuine, there are still people who don't know any better who would accuse us of selling a fake one. So it's just something that we are staying away from now, which is a great shame because they are pretty cool errors. Right, we'll just have a look at some comments before we move on to the next topic. Just say a few more hellos to people here. Peter's saying, I've just met up with a collector who wanted me to look through the Vegemite $2 he'd received from Woolworths with a view of sending the PCGS. Out of 45, none would grade MS66. Thanks, Peter, for sharing that. Peter is an excellent grader. Hello, Antonius, who's joining us from Berlin. Don't feel old, Patrick. Don't feel old. Hello, Cam. Hello, John. Hello, Petra. Hello, David. David in Geelong, thanks for joining us. Hello, Brandon. Gary says there's real ones around. Hello, Alan. Thanks for joining us today. Glenn says, by chance, do you know the kind of paint is used on these coloured coins and the process is used? No, I don't. Right, next item in the news is a conspiracy theory from Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, for sharing your conspiracy theory with me this morning. Now, you may or may not know that the Queen died last year, and you may or may not know that her son Prince Charles is now King Charles I've forgotten, the third. You probably may know that he was crowned last month in a thing that, you know, one or two people in the world watched on TV, where there was a coronation ceremony. You may or may not know the Queen died in September last year, and King Charles wasn't officially crowned until April, so that would be, what, 7 or 8 months, I guess. And if you are a coin collector here in Australia, you would know that our mint, all they've managed to do in those 7 months is create what they called a memorial obverse, which is to just create, just add some numbers and a hyphen to the obverse of some collector coins that tell you the amount of time that the Queen has reigned. Now compare that to the Royal Mint, who has created a whole suite of collector coins commemorating the passing of the Queen and the ascension of her son and his coronation. The Royal Canadian Mint has created a whole suite of collector coins and released a slightly modified obverse into circulation, as well as a mourning $2 coin that has a special nickel plated centre, which is black. And you know, by comparison, our mint has done nothing. We have nothing. You know, the coronation was last month and we got nothing. One of the most popular $2 coins for collectors is the 2013 purple coronation coin. We got nothing. Now, why did we get nothing? Now, the mint would like us to think it's because of the problems that they've had with supplies from other countries, the problems they've had with bots on their website, and so on and so forth. But Catherine's theory is that with the passing of the Queen, that perhaps, look, Paul has got it. Paul has got it. The passing of the Queen has perhaps brought to the fore that people inside of government and people at the Mint now have an opportunity to push the Republic, and that they don't want royal coins minted, and that's why we're not seeing anything. So thank you, Paul, for gazumping me there. My tinfoil hat slipped down over my eyes and I couldn't see for a second. But, you know, that's Catherine's theory, is that the passing of the Queen has brought some internal Republicans to the fore, whether it be in government or at the Mint, and any royal related coins have been knocked on the head or perhaps are being stalled, and that's why we're not seeing anything. It does seem odd that in 7 months the Mint has managed pretty much nothing. You know, pretty much nothing. And we haven't seen any general Mint releases since the beginning of April. We saw the $2 coin for Vietnam coming out at the beginning of April. We've seen nothing since then. We're not going to see anything until the end of June. And it just seems very odd, but I do not mind Catherine's theory. It's not a bad one. So thank you, Catherine, for sharing that one with me this morning, and she wrote me some notes about the Canadian Mint here, about what they've done. So the Canadian Mint haven't moved to the Charles effigy because they don't want to use the Royal Mint's effigy. They want to give a local designer, a Canadian designer, an opportunity to create a portrait of the King, as they have been using their own effigy of the Queen for quite a while. And they have released coronation coins with the royal cipher on them, but not the King's portrait. So, interesting theory from Catherine there. I wonder if it's true. We'll never know. Thank you to Gary and several other people who linked me to an article about some American 1-cent coins. My content was fixed already by the time I saw those. So I will use those articles last week. Thank you to everyone who shared that with me. But thank you to Mike Ellery and Catherine, who shared the article with me that was in our printed paper here on Saturday about the PE94 $20 note. Now, if you are new to note collecting, then you might not know that every signature pair, so that's the signatures that are on banknotes. If you grab a banknote, if you actually have a banknote out of your purse or wallet and have a look at it, you'll find 2 signatures on there. Every signature pair has what's known as a first prefix and last prefix, and they're the 2 letters and numbers at the beginning of the banknote serial number. In 1994, when the polymer $20 note was introduced, the first prefix was AA94 and the last prefix was PE94. Often the first and last prefixes are harder notes to obtain, and you would probably not get much argument from most polymer note collectors that PE94 is amongst the hardest ones to obtain. I believe we've had one in 4 years, and if you go and jump onto the Great Garage Sale in the Sky on eBay, you'll notice that there's probably only 1 or 2 available there, and that's usually a pretty good indication that there aren't many of them around. Now, a social media influencer has done a video about these notes. Now, I don't know if it's a new video or an old video because I don't do TikTok, and I'm not about to do TikTok just to look up the date of a video, but a social media influencer did create a video about these notes, suggesting that if you found one in your change, then they would be worth 1 value up to a potential other value. And those numbers were lifted straight out of this book, which is Rennick's 31st edition. This is the generally accepted Australian coin and banknote catalogue. The TikTok video was then picked up by journalists this week. Now, again, I don't know if it's a new article or an old article. It was picked up by some journalists and has got into print and online and things like that, with the usual hysterical headlines about these notes being worth whatever they are. And if we just pop that up here, no, right, try again. Right, so what's my problems with that article? News articles are not a valid source of values for anything. The journalists don't know. They don't know. They are in the business of creating articles that generate views, and the quality of numismatic articles in general that I have seen is terrible. The journalists don't know. Articles are inaccurate. Many times they are inaccurate. The social media influencer quoted catalogue values for the value of those notes, and when it comes to polymer notes, I would many times largely disregard the catalogue values for polymer notes. The only way that I would take them into consideration is to take them as a gauge of how hard a note is to find. If the catalogue value is high for a polymer note, then it's going to be a hard note to find, but the actual commercial value probably bears very little relationship to the value of the note itself that's in the catalogue. The other thing to look out for is that when it comes to polymer notes, there's a bit of a saying that goes around: if it's not unk, it's junk. There are many polymer notes that have high catalogue values, but as soon as they are circulated, you can't give them away. The collectors are fairly thin on the ground, and they just want the top quality notes. Now, that note I've got a scan of there, which is over there somewhere, is I'm just going to make the window a bit bigger so I can remind myself of what this is. It's a first issue 1988 $10 note, last prefix. So quite a scarce note. Has a catalogue value of $2,500 in uncirculated condition. That's a pair just there. That's a pair just there that we've got for sale for only just over the catalogue value for one note. So, you know, these have been available now for a year and a half at about half of catalogue value, and we have not had one nibble on these, not one nibble. So these are supposedly a scarce note that's hard to find in uncirculated condition, and we've not had any bites on them at all. My usual rule of thumb for polymer notes is about 1/4 to 40% of catalogue value is a reasonable retail value. So if we were to jump to this next slide here, and we'll just pop up some screenshots there. See at the bottom left there is a screenshot from the social media video in question where the value is $17.50 to $47.50. Realistically, I would probably quarter those values for a genuine retail value. And there is a sold eBay result for about a quarter of that value for one of these notes. And you know, what do you take from this? Don't get your values from articles on the internet, from news articles, from online valuation sites, or from social media. They often bear little resemblance to commercial reality. Social media influencers and content generators look for content that can be generated quickly, and consulting this book here and lifting out the things that have high values is a way of quickly generating content. If you say that something has a high value, then you are going to get more people looking at it, and you are more likely to get traction with it. And then journalists who are just in the business of generating clickbait can look at the engagement figures for those social media channels and then create more hysterical content around those values. And the really irritating thing is that neither of those groups of people have to deal with the fallout. We do. We're the ones that are going to be getting phone calls about crappy old $20 notes for the next several months, explaining to people that it has to be the right signature and it has to have the right prefix, because most people that get excited by this content really just see the $20 note and they go, I've got one of those, without knowing that the signatures change and that there's different letters and numbers on them. So, you know, we will be referring those phone calls to the journalists and the social media influencer concerned, because I don't want to answer them. So where can you get a good value from? I don't mind Renix. I think this is as good as you're going to get, as long as you apply the rule of thumb that, you know, half, 25% to half, or 25% to 40% of the value is a realistic value. So, you know, how can you gauge that? Well, jump online, and let me just stop for 1 second here. The screenshot there that I've got of coinsandaustralia.com, it's an online valuation site. The catalogue values there are just, I don't know if they're lifted directly out of Renix or whatever, but they are similarly unrealistic. But on some of the items that that person has there, they actually have sold results from auction and things like that. So that website can be a useful research tool to generate real values for things, but the actual catalogue values that are shown there are not realistic. So how can you get a decent value? Then, you know, for me, looking at Renix, applying that rule of thumb, and then searching for sold results is really the only thing that you can do, and that's it. There is no easy way of determining the value of something. I wish it was as easy as just looking in this book and saying, well, that's the value, but it's not. You can't look at asking prices on eBay, you can't look at asking prices on dealers' websites. You really need to do your own research. And, you know, if you do contact us here and bring in a whole pile of stuff and stand at the counter and say to me, I want you to tell me what all of this is worth, don't get upset when I say no, because that knowledge that is in my head is hard won, and it comes from experience, and I'm not going to give that away for free so that you can go and sell your own stuff on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. You know, if you're going to play in the game of buying and selling banknotes and coins, then you know you need to do that research yourself. Similarly, if you are on social media and someone says what's something worth, and you think you're helping them by taking a screenshot of the catalogue and saying, look, it's worth $3,800, then you know what grade the person's item is? Do you know what these things actually sell for in the marketplace? You know, you are probably doing that person a disservice by sending that screenshot of the catalogue, because without context it is useless and dangerous. The other thing I would like to say about this is that, you know, I don't know exactly how the pricing is generated from this book, but certainly anecdotally I have been told that many of the prices are supplied by dealers, and the prices supplied are what they would like to get for things, rather than a reflection on how things are selling in the market now, which are two very different numbers. Asking price and what things people are actually willing to pay are often two very different numbers. If you are a social media influencer and you want to talk about valuable things that you can find, then you know, more power to you. But I do encourage you to supply realistic values. Do your own research. Don't just grab numbers out of a catalogue thinking that it actually bears any relation to reality. Do your own research and supply your followers with good information, not with hype and hyperbole and you know, things that push the burden back onto people like me and Catherine, and you know, we don't appreciate it and we don't want it, and you know, there are other ways to get people to follow your content. Right, that's it for today. Sorry about that. I'm just not looking forward to the phone calls that we're going to get this week. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone who is having a public holiday is having a great day today. Catherine and I had to work, unfortunately, but that's life. Hello, Mark from Tasmania. I hope everyone stays safe. Happy collecting. As always, if you do see any coin or banknote articles out there, please forward them through our Facebook page and send me a message and let me know about that. Oh yes, the planetary sets. Thank you, Samantha. I'm going to have a go at some other people here. We had a day off on Tuesday. Complete day off. We didn't come into the shop. We thought we'd go out for lunch, but the phone rang just before we went out for lunch, and a charity shop here in Adelaide called us, and the manager of the charity shop had 2 planetary sets donated to the shop. He knew what they were worth. And he recognised that we are a coin shop and we need to make a profit. He negotiated with us, and we paid a very fair price for those sets, a very fair price. Now, I don't see that we should have to justify that we buy and sell things here. And when I posted that up on Facebook last week, a few people chose to suggest that we had ripped someone off, and we hadn't. Now, what really irked me was that I recognised some of the names of those people, and some of the names of those people are well-known sellers on Facebook. They are well-known sellers on Facebook who I'm sure don't pay tax and don't pay GST, and the last thing that we need to hear is their sour grapes because they think we got something cheap and they missed out. Catherine and I pay fair prices. We pay tax, we pay GST, we have overheads. This is not a hobby, and those people can keep their opinions to themselves. Thanks everyone for watching. Happy collecting, and we'll be back next week. Bye for now.